So, hello Internet. This is the IPython and Jupyter Dev meeting for March 22nd. 13 people today, so it might be a longer meeting than usual. I will go first because I started talking. Nothing much for me. Mostly I went to Jupyter Day Boston with a few other people last week. It was nice to meet users from the East Coast. And nice conversation, nice demo, nice people. Thanks you already for organizing all that, and the Harvard Center for having us. And I've been starting to work on the second iteration of our newsletter today. That probably will be out next week on Tuesday also. And that's about it for me. So next is Jan. I don't know if he's, yes, he's connected, he's there. I can see him. So go ahead. I think he's muted if he's trying to talk. Okay. So let's go with the next person if we can't hear Jan.
Ian, are you muted? Yeah.
Yeah, I see him as muted. So let's go with Carol. Carol, are you there?
Oh no, I think Carol's
she's out today
said,
for a conference.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's Peter and Gino next.
Okay.
Sure. Hi. Can you hear me?
Yep.
So I'm breaking the streak. Okay. So Gino and I published that little blog post yesterday. Thanks for all the positive feedback. It's getting some pretty good traction. We had a lot of fun writing that, seeing all the wonderful things people are doing. So it was a good time. Begs the question, should we have this on a wiki page so people can add to it over time or some such, but we could figure that out later. In addition to that, someone raised the issue on Jupyter Hub about building single user Docker images, and Min actually asked, could we maintain this as part of Docker stacks, or whoever had raised it, I forget who it was off the top of my head. And Min actually went and put together that code. So we now have for each of the Docker Stack notebook images a corresponding single user image, which is primed and ready to go with Jupyter Hub. So it should ease people getting set up with Jupyter Hub and plugging in one of the Docker Stacks images to work with it. And I think Min also wrote the instructions for how to do that quickly too. So that's there. Been working over in Docker Stacks with Kirkman, trying to increase the amount of automation we have. We've always been doing this sort of manual build process, and he's been doing a lot of work to improve that story, trying to get things going on Travis, but we're still running into issues with just the size of the images. We're building something like 5 gig Docker images for some of these stacks and hitting timeouts and caching problems and whatnot, but it's slowly improving over time, so that's goodness. And I think the only other thing on the dashboard work, we updated the wiki page that we maintain with the little roadmap. Roadmap's an inflated term for what it really is. It's a little wiki page with what the status is today, where we think we're headed in the short term. So in prep for the dev meeting next week, we kind of clean that up a little bit and put where we stand. And I think that's it, unless Gino's on and wants to add something. I think he said he was going to be on mute today, though. Yeah, so we'll go to the next person.
Okay, so I am next. I've been working a lot on making a couple of different extensions for the notebook just based on ideas that people have submitted. I finished a raw button extension that mimics GitHub's raw button that lands on the editor page. I've been working on another extension for splitting a long cell into 2 new notebooks. I'm having a lot of trouble with the contents API and with the notebook object, trying to figure out how that will work. So if anyone's an expert on those things, let me know. I've already talked to a couple of people, but still trying to make it work. Somebody also mentioned that they'd like a modification of Min's table of contents extension so that instead of building a table of contents on the side, you actually generate a markdown cell at the top with your table of contents. So I was trying to get that working. And I was also at Jupyter Days Boston last week. I gave my talk on kernels. A lot of people were interested in it for different things, whether it was DSLs or just wanting to maintain kernels that were already in existence. And I'm 75% done with my SciPy tutorial proposal on building kernels and extensions. So it's good they extended the deadline to the 25th. Otherwise, I would have been in trouble. But that's it for me. I think Anna's next.
Yes, I don't know if we want to go back to Ian or if he's still not able to present, but Ian, feel free to jump in if you want to.
Hi, everyone. Can you guys hear me okay?
There we go. Yes.
Sorry, I'm kind of, as usual, doubling up on meetings and was in the midst of having to present something in another meeting. That's for a couple hours. So I just wanted to very briefly bring up, thanks for having me. Damien and Nick said, yeah, just add your name to the hack pad to get in there. And then I was late joining, and I guess you're waiting for me to say something briefly. But we're hoping to have a spring release of Anaconda. We're actually having a release of Anaconda in the next couple of weeks, but we'll have a point release sometime later in the spring, which might mean May, June, or July. And we are seriously thinking about a set of half a dozen to maybe as many as a dozen, but probably not that many extensions that we would bundle with the Anaconda distribution that would be pre-installed and configured so that out of the box, Jupyter, we're hoping at that point it'll be 4.2, if not possibly even 4.3, would have a bunch of like the great enhanced functionality that's provided by extensions. We've created about 8, and we've got targeted about half of those that we're thinking we'd like to add in, and others that we don't want to add in, and we'll just let people install them. The idea is that there are lots and lots of people out there who use Jupyter who are really, really scared of the command line is the best way to put it. And so we want to give them like the most best complete experience right from the get-go. And so we wanted to share that idea here for feedback. And we know what our 3 or 4 extensions are that we'd like to put in there, and then we've got a longer list of about another dozen or so from the community that we're thinking about picking maybe 3 or 4 more from that set. And we also want to say that it would still always be possible to get like a virgin Jupyter environment, either using Miniconda or by just creating a new Conda environment that, the base Jupyter package would not have this extra stuff in it. It would just be a out-of-the-box Anaconda install, which includes about 200 packages, maybe pushing 300 at this point. Some of those pre-installed things would be a set of, like I said, maybe half a dozen Jupyter extensions. So that's the idea. We're thinking about it, and we wanted to get any feedback or thoughts. And if anybody has anything they want to say now, they can, or they can talk to me, or they can also talk to Nick and Damien on these meetings, because they're always here and I'm only occasionally here, and they're right in the main line of working on this stuff and thinking about it.
Is this using the new extension API that Brian and you guys have been working on?
That is exactly what this first release would target, Jupyter 4.2, and using those extensions built on 4.2 when it gets completed. I'm hoping maybe Nick or Damien will raise that topic later, but I won't raise the topic of getting that PR merged and then backported onto 4.1 to give us 4.2. It's something that we're trying to do what we can to get done. But yes, it would include that. But it also, the idea would extend into the future. We would imagine that if it worked out and there wasn't problems with it if we do it, but even before that, problems with even the concept of doing it, we would imagine that when, I'm going to get the names wrong, but the Jupyter lab based on Jupyter 5 and the phosphor, all the phosphor stuff and phosphide, we would imagine that Anaconda out of the box would come with a set of what we consider to be high quality extensions. And it wouldn't just be us Continuum. We would be like open to a larger discussion of what stuff made sense. We don't want it to be kitchen sink, but we think there's value in having more than just vanilla as the default installation. So that's the idea.
What kinds of users are you hoping to target with these extensions?
That's a great question. I think we're trying to target users who are, we want to go for sort of the model of extensions that hit the widest possible audience of Jupyter users, and also extensions that maybe, as much as Jupyter does a great job of lowering the bar to accessing some of the capabilities and functionality of data analytics by making like interactive web-based combined notebook style computing possible, there's still people for whom it's challenging. So extensions that address ease of use or accessibility by maybe people who are never going to write a line of code, but they're going to open and run and look at notebooks. So things that would enhance that experience, those would be good targets to go in there. We wouldn't be looking to bundle stuff in that's like niche. There is another angle that I definitely should mention. I think I put it in my HackPad notes. We want to give people within the Anaconda experience, because they're getting Jupyter inside Anaconda, they're already making a decision, like they're getting hundreds of additional packages all in Anaconda, and it's meant to be kind of cohesive. We would like, from within Jupyter, we'd like to give people some exposure to some of the Anaconda functionality. So we want to give them access to package management functionality. At the moment, that's limited to what we've got in our extensions, which are Conda packages. But if there were extensions that other people wrote, or if we enhance our own package management extensions to support not just Conda packages, but also like native package formats for CRAN or for PyPI or NPM or whatever, those are good targets for us. Anything that means people don't need to do stuff from the command line or do bang operations inside a notebook shell are good targets. So package management, sandboxing stuff, whether it's virtual env or Conda or whatever, those are the kinds of targets that we're looking at.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, I think that sounds good. Obviously, the question of default packages is always really hard, but I think at the very least, making sure that it's easy to kind of install a package that enables an extension is definitely something that we want to be easy. And then the defaults discussion should be, well, it may be a challenging discussion. It at least won't need to be a technical one.
Yeah, that's right. Especially once we've got these updates done. Yeah. So anyway, I mean, like I said, this is months out at this point, but we wanted to say that we're thinking about it, and we appreciate feedback. If people have ideas about, it would be amazing to have this capability in place, or that's going to throw off whatever, some aspect of what people are trying to do, or it means people are going to get like not a virgin Jupyter, then we'd love to have, we've thought about some of those things, but I'm sure there's more than like the 30-second blurb. There's the 5-minute, 30-minute conversation with some of you that we're happy to engage in over the next couple months as we try and figure this out.
Yeah, I think starting conversation online on an issue or mailing list or something with a list of kind of candidates and stuff is probably a good idea.
Yeah, okay.
All right, I think I'm up next. I think so. Last week was finals at Cal Poly, so I was blown out of the water with those. But thank God they're done. I ended the quarter well, got some pretty good grades, and we're back to Jupyter work. So I started up yesterday working with the Jupyter Lab team, starting to style the dialog boxes of like when there's an error, if you're making a new file, et cetera, et cetera. And I'm going to continue that styling work on Jupyter Lab throughout this week, going back and forth. And I also have to get some Jupyter business cards for everyone, along with the women's t-shirts sent over to Anna. So I'll probably get that done by today or tomorrow. And also I'm going to be starting to work with IPy widgets and starting to style them so they start looking a little pretty. So that's pretty much me for this week, and I'm looking forward to it.
Awesome. Thanks, Cameron. I'll actually jump in there with my update before we move on. So I was also at Jupyter Days in Boston. We were able to gather about 100 people, which I think went really well for a 2-day event. There is a posting on GitHub from Andrew Odawan from O'Reilly where he summarized all the different slide decks, write-up that Dana from the Harvard Center for Astrophysics wrote up, kind of just a gathering place for all things related to that event. So you guys are welcome to take a peek in there. Matthias was our keynote. I did hear from someone as I was walking around when I asked them what the highlight of the event was. They said talking to a Jupyter wizard was the highlight of the event, and they were referring to Matthias. So Safia also presented, did very well. It was a very interesting couple of days meeting the community and kind of getting their feedback for future events. As a next step for those events, we're looking at Safia and I will work together to create an event kit, kind of outlines expectations of organizers for future events and kind of how Jupyter will support them. So I'm also looking forward to Dev Meeting next week and talking, possibly having a conversation around JupyterCon, and also looking at supporting Katie White, who is organizing efforts for the newsletter. We're looking at our 2nd edition, and we will continue to obviously take ideas from everyone and to structure that in a way that makes sense. Also, you guys structure around the calendar of events for the Jupyter team and also for the wider community. I see a question from Matthias. Oh, did I put the wrong link in there, Matthias?
You've put your fork. So I don't know if you really want us to contribute to your fork or the original one.
No, I'm learning to use GitHub. So Carol did her first training last week. No, the week before that, we did our initial training. I will continue to learn to use GitHub and figure that out. So yes, we will use the link that Matthias inserted in there. And that's pretty much for me. Looks like Jess's note is that she's just listening today. So Min, you're up next.
Yeah, so I missed last week because Titus Brown and Tracy Teal were here in Oslo doing some reproducible research workshop stuff and data carpentry stuff. And that was cool, working with people at the University of Oslo, doing HPC and biology and all kinds of stuff, and getting people excited about doing Python stuff and notebook stuff. And that was good. I've been talking to Matt Rocklin about some parallel computing tutorial stuff about kind of the broader Python tools for parallel computing. not just IPython, not just distributed at SciPy. Considering a SciPy talk on NVDime, the diffing and merging stuff, although I might save that for Euro SciPy, which is a bit closer to me. And then I've been working on Jupyter Hub stuff, doing the Docker stacks for Jupyter Hub that Peter talked about, and then reviewing and merging stuff all over the places, talking to Jason and Steve about notebook model and rendering diffs and all sorts of stuff. Yeah, nothing too specific and exciting for me. And Nick, I think you're next.
Great, thank you. Yeah, and thanks Peter and Gino. That was a really cool post. I've already shared that with a couple people. It kind of starts to answer the question of what is Jupyter, and I think it really points out that the community is Jupyter. I mean, we're here on this call, but it's everybody that's building everything out there. And I think that's pretty awesome. So yep, working on good old 879. Would like to see that kind of go to the gate there. So we have restored the default behavior of configuring in user directory by default and not in system, because that got lost. And then in fixing that, I broke sys prefixes. So I unbroke sys prefixes. And otherwise we're looking pretty good there. So as we said, it'd be very cool if we could make that call, do the triage on what we actually want to get into 4.2, and then try and cut a beta this week at some point, so we got at least something to complain about at the dev meeting, instead of just continuing to talk about how much work it's going to be. So that's that angle. Also to that end, thinking about what Ian was mentioning, where really to get stuff into Anaconda, which is not Conda, it's a common misconception. Sorry, garbage truck. That we will want to definitely make sure that there is a way that, without running any scripts or anything like that, just putting files in the right place, that we can extend the notebook and convert all the other stuff. And for that reason, I'm thinking that's probably going to have to end up down in Tradelets, but we can open that conversation there at some other point. And already the Ian stuff, it's just like, trying to keep 300 some packages together, and then adding who knows how many more of extensions. You can't be really assured that things are going to happen in the right order, and the only way to really guarantee it is with files. So there we go. So Matthias brought up that the new API for Binder will be available soon, and among the things that it can do is tell you, given a repository, whether there is a binder built for that thing. This seems like a no-brainer for NBViewer to support, since they have compatible security models and deployment strategies and everything like that. Turns out it's pretty simple to do it simply, but now putting on my architect hat, we might want to do it a little bit more interestingly, thinking about people that are going to be, running their own things. And so along with provider and formatter, we may want to start talking about runner as a new extension point to NBViewer. And so, obviously the binder one would be the first one, and but we would want to be thinking about other stuff in that respect. Yep, just getting more, internal inside a continuum and external NB present users, and trying to help them, trying to figure out what I did wrong in the MVP and how to make it simple and straightforward. Some of the things that were, in danger of losing from Rise and Live Reveal. So packing more themes in, reducing some complexity. So definitely still mulling over that. Working on a little talk over at Georgia Tech. The HPC guys there, they're motivated by utilization, and so we want to start, helping students, graduate students, faculty, etc., start thinking about, the work that they're doing as being data science, no matter what field it happens to be in. So digging up some fun stuff about Georgia Tech, which is, it's always nice to be back on campus. And then trying to keep up with what's going on. And I see Matthias is a research parasite. That's fantastic. And catching up on NB Dime. I haven't seen anything that makes me sad based on how we're using it on stuff. So, keep up the great work there, guys. That is me.
I think I'm next. Short update this week. Continuing to work on the big squeeze for phosphor, getting repos merged down from our current number of 25 to about 3. Got some of the some core changes that I wanted to make to make our iteration algorithms and our searching algorithms more generic. That's now done, and so the pace of that should start increasing rapidly. I don't think I'll quite be at Steve Sylvester's pace, but it'll be close. But that's about that's it for me this week, and look forward to seeing everybody at Jupyter Dev Days next week.
All right, I guess I'm next. I've been working on the various Jupyter.js repos, bug fixes, enhancements, specifically Jupyter.js Notebook, adding features there. We had our first Friday Jupyter Lab meeting last Friday. That's a recurring thing. Brian had some early user feedback, and we created issues on those. I've been trying to knock those out as soon as possible. And Cameron this week is helping with the design, and I'm trying to keep up with him and not mess it up too badly. So we'll just keep pressing. Thanks. And Darren's next.
Yeah, so I have been working on the mostly IPy widgets, and we finally got our most of the removal of jQuery and Backbone merged into master. There was a lot of cleanup that needed to be done with the original pull request because it had taken a while, and there were merge commits in there that made it kind of confusing. In addition, the drop-down view that used the Bootstrap functionality just had to be totally rewritten. So that now has no dependencies, and I have an outstanding PR for the keyboard bindings for it to work like a native drop-down with keyboard controls. And this week I'm gonna work with Jason and Steve and Dave to try to get the Backbone views that come out of that get rendered in the notebook to be wrapped in a Phosphor widget first, so that we have some more flexibility in how things are going to be rendering in Jupyter Lab. And also, I think I'm probably one of the major reasons for why Cameron has to do stuff, because I broke a lot of the styling by removing Bootstrap. So sorry about that, but I'm also happy about that. Yeah, that's it for me. And I think Jason was next.
Yeah, so I mean, two main thrusts in the work this week. The work with widgets with Dave and Darian and Chris. We're pursuing that roadmap, so you can see the PR that we're working off of. We would like to talk to John. John's not on the call, right? Does anybody know if John's around? I pinged him earlier, but I didn't hear anything back from him. Okay, well, I'll try to
maybe his
keep
computer
contact.
time froze again.
Just as you said, his computer froze, my tab crashed. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, and I don't see John on the call anymore.
Oh, he was on the call? Okay, I didn't know if he was out on vacation.
I don't see him. He's not in the list of person connected right now.
Also working a lot with Steve on the Jupyter Lab notebook design. And just a reminder, those status meetings that he mentioned are Fridays at 9 a.m. People that are working on Jupyter Lab or interested in the Jupyter Lab roadmap discussion, et cetera, are welcome to attend. And we're just plugging in ahead. I hope we have something you can see the current status, but we're working hard to have even more stuff to show at the dev meeting next week.
What time zone? 9 a.m.
Pacific time, 9 a.m. Pacific time.
So I've been working on refactoring Jupyter console and separating its code out from IPython so that we can clean those up more as independent things. I've been trying to push the Jupyter overview paper forwards a bit and just getting ready to come to the US, which I'm flying on Friday. Damian, if you're here.
Yeah, do you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, essentially, last week I was catching up in a lot of fronts after my vacation because we had a lot of issues, and spent some time reviewing and testing the latest changes in the notebook 879 PR. I believe it is in good shape now. We realized that there was some issue and need patch that yesterday, if I remember correctly. It would be nice to have that PR merge as soon as possible so we can continue working and maybe release a beta candidate this week. And there is some Jupyter stuff that depends on this PR merge, so it would be nice to have it merged soon. And then essentially some of the things that Nick raised before related with the confg base config thing and discussion related with that to support the extension installed by default without using prefix, without using both scripts steps. And that's pretty much it.
It sounds like there's some confusion about the 4.2 release timeline and progress, especially with that PR. Is there someone spearheading that? Is there someone that's taking charge of the 4.2 release?
John's kind of on the helm for that PR, and that PR is really the only 4.2 thing. So I think we can have 4.2 if out probably by the end of the dev meeting or something.
Yeah, if we could release a beta, well, maybe we'll talk to John. If we could release a beta so that we can test it during the dev meeting. I did have a quick question about 4.2. MathJax 2.6 has a new backend for rendering math. It's about 40% faster than the current one that we use.
I believe with the current state of 4.2, instead of whitelisting particular backends, I think 4.2 will basically let you use any MathJax backend.
Right. So the question is, what should be the default? So the disadvantage is the new backend only works with the tech fonts instead of the sticks fonts. So it's a lot more curly and italics. It looks a lot more like tech, which I used to like, but apparently now I don't like as much as the sticks fonts.
I wouldn't bother changing that for 4.2.
But it's 40% faster. So my question is there anybody that has seen or heard of like real problems with the math rendering speed in notebooks? If not, then let's keep it the way it is for now and look at changing it later when they make more fonts available. But if there's a problem with rendering speed for MathJax, we should just go ahead and change it.
No, I mean, the biggest ones are like the Bayesian stats for hackers are probably the largest notebooks with the most math. And the MathJax rendering time is super noticeable. So it would be nice if it were faster, but I don't think it's at this point the kind of thing that's sufficiently problematic that we need to make a change like that right before a minor release.
It's I think about a 1 character change, so it's not that much of a change, but
if the behavior is sufficiently different and all that stuff,
the visual is different. Right?
Yeah.
Okay.
But we can switch it for 5.0 and see how it feels.
Yep. Okay.
Thanks. That's everybody, right?
Yep. So does anybody have something else to add? Otherwise, I'm not sure we have a video meeting next week because everyone is in Berkeley. So see you in 2 weeks, internet, I guess. Bye-bye.
Bye.